Eric had a big mansion, riches, and a good family. But for 38 years, he kept one memory in his heart: his nanny who cared for him in his childhood, the only one who ever truly loved him. This is Eric's story and how he searched for the nanny who raised him after 38 years. What happened in this story is so emotional. Please watch to the end and subscribe to my channel for part 2 of this story. Eric lived in a big house with his mommy and daddy. They had lots of money, shiny cars, pretty toys, everything. But Eric was sad. His mommy and daddy were always busy. They never played with him. They never hugged him. But there was one person who loved Eric very much: his nanny, Mama Lucy. She was from a place called Nigeria, and she was so kind. She sang happy songs, held Eric when he cried, and called him my baby boy. At night when Eric was scared, Mama Lucy stayed with him until he fell asleep. She made him feel safe. She made him feel loved. Then one day, Mama Lucy was gone. Just like that. No hugs, no goodbye. Eric cried and cried, but no one told him why she left. His mommy just said she was just a maid. His daddy didn't even talk about her. But Eric never forgot Mama Lucy. He missed her every day. His heart felt empty without her. And deep inside, he wondered, where did she go? Eric grew up, went to the best schools, and became a successful man. He got married and had 2 children of his own. He gave them love every day because he remembered how it felt to be without it. But deep in his heart, he still thought of Mama Lucy. One day, while cleaning out the old house he grew up in, Eric found a dusty box near the basement. Inside was a photo of him as a child, sitting on the lap of a smiling African woman in a bright dress. It was her, Mama Lucy. Eric sat down and cried. So many years had passed, but his heart still knew her face. That night, he made a decision. He was going to find her. Eric didn't know where in Nigeria she had gone. He had no phone number, no address. But he had money, and he had hope. So he paid bloggers in Nigeria to help. He sent them the photo and asked them to post it online with a message. Does anyone know this woman? She worked in America many years ago. Her name is Lucy. Please help us find her. For weeks, there was silence. Then one day, a blog in Lagos replied. A woman had recognized her. The nanny was still alive. She was old now, living in a small one-room house in a quiet part of Lagos. She didn't know Eric was looking for her, and Eric didn't want her to know. Not yet. He wanted it to be a surprise. So he packed his bags, booked a flight, and kissed his family goodbye. As he stepped onto the plane to Nigeria, his heart beat fast. After 38 long years, he was going to meet Mama Lucy again. When Eric arrived in Nigeria, he felt nervous, but also excited. This was a country he had never visited before, but it already felt close to his heart. It was the home of the woman who once loved him like a mother. The heat hit him as he stepped out of the airport. The streets were busy. The air was filled with the sounds of car horns, people talking, and music playing from small shops. Everything felt alive. Eric had hired a private driver to take him to the address the blog had sent, but he didn't go right away. First, he checked into a hotel. He sat by the window of his room that night, looking out over the lights of Lagos, holding the old photo in his hand. He kept wondering, what if she doesn't remember me? What if she's angry? What if she's not the same? But deep inside, Eric knew something. Love doesn't forget. The next morning, Eric bought a big basket. He filled it with things she might need: rice, cooking oil, soap, fruit, and even a soft blanket. Then he added something small but special, a golden necklace with the word Mama engraved on it. Finally, he placed an envelope inside the basket. Inside that envelope was $16,000 in cash. It wasn't to pay her back, because love has no price. It was to thank her, to help her, to bless her the same way she once blessed him. Eric got into the car, and they drove to find her. The car stopped on a quiet street in a small Lagos neighborhood. Children were playing outside. Women were cooking by the roadside. People smiled at Eric as he stepped out with his basket. The driver pointed at a little house with a blue door. "That's the place," he said. Eric walked slowly. His hands were shaking. His heart felt like it would break out of his chest. He knocked on the door. A few seconds later, she opened it. There she was, older now, with gray in her hair and soft lines on her face. But her eyes, those same kind, warm eyes, had not changed. Not even a little. She looked at Eric, confused. "Can I help you?" she asked. Eric smiled through tears. He said just one thing. "Mama Lucy, it's me. It's Eric." At first, she didn't move. Her mouth opened in shock. Then slowly, her eyes filled with tears. She placed her hand over her heart, dropped her bag on the floor, and whispered, "My baby. Oh my God. My baby boy." Eric dropped the basket and hugged her tightly. She held him like she never wanted to let go. She didn't know he was coming. She never thought she would see him again. But love, real love, always finds its way back. That moment in front of that blue door, after 38 years, they were home again. Mama Lucy slowly led Eric into her small home. The house was quiet with old furniture and faded curtains. The floor was clean, but the room was simple. A small fan turned slowly on the ceiling. There was a Bible on the table and a black and white photo of her younger self on the wall. Eric looked around, and tears filled his eyes. She had given him everything when he was a child. Love, comfort, care. Yet this was how she lived now. Alone, quiet, forgotten by the world. But not forgotten by him. They sat down on her small couch. For a long time, they didn't speak. They just held hands and cried. Then Mama Lucy said, "I never thought I'd see you again, Eric. I prayed for you every night. I always wondered if you were okay, if you were happy." Eric nodded slowly. "I was never truly happy without you. You were the only one who loved me the way I needed." Mama Lucy covered her mouth as fresh tears fell down her face. Eric took out the envelope and placed it on the table. "What is this?" she asked. He smiled. "It's a gift. You once gave me everything you had. Now it's my turn." She tried to refuse. She shook her head and said, No, Eric. I didn't do those things for money. I did them because I loved you." "I know," he said gently. "That's why you deserve this." He also told her something else. Every month, she would receive money in her account. Enough to rest. Enough to live well. Enough to smile. Then he opened the basket. He showed her the food, the fruit, and the small gold necklace. She held the necklace in her hand and began to sob. "My name on it," she whispered. "Mama." Eric reached out and held her close. "I came all this way to tell you something," he said. She looked up at him. "Thank you, Mama Lucy, for loving a boy no one else made time for. You saved me." And in that little house with the blue door, a woman who thought the world had forgotten her felt loved again. After 38 years, subscribe for part 2.